Wisdom from my mother. That's what we are going to be talking about tonight, right here on Why I Write. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a minute since we've been this side of your screens. And guess what? We are so happy to be back with you. Happy 2026. Here's hoping that January has started pretty great for you. We're now practically at the end of January, and we still feel the need to continue telling the stories and introducing you to authors and writers who you need to learn about some of the motivations, and we seek to inspire you as we go through our series of Why I Write. I'm your host, Totlin Oliver, and this year we sincerely hope to continue introducing you and bringing you new writers, new authors who introduce new ideas to you for your life to feel even more embellished, if that's something that you're after. You are not just here to just live the same old way, year in, year out. But we hope through our conversations with our creatives that you will find some wonderful types of inspiration that will take you through to the next level of your life. So, welcome to Why I Write. Thank you so much for being with us. And you know what? It is great to have you here. Tonight, we have a super duper professional, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about her background. But this is her first book that she says, you know what? I needed to get all of this wisdom down in hard copy as part of my legacy. Because that's another reason we write. We write because we have legacies to leave behind. We have wisdom to share. We have so many things to give our loved ones and friends. So we don't want to miss the opportunity ever of encouraging others through our words and leaving wisdom in the best ways possible. So, right now, I want you to welcome to our Wire Right screen none other than Annette White. Annette, welcome once more to
Hello, hello. It's so good to be here. Good to see you again.
Listen, it is awesome. I tell you, when we first met on this Why I Write stage, you were one of the several authors that we featured on one of our first ever book fairs. How was that experience for you, Annette?
As a new writer, that was a really good experience getting to not only learn from the other great writers who were on there, but getting the exposure of promoting and getting used to just talking about the book in a very public way. I've been sharing it with, friends and family, and I talk about it so enthusiastically, but then being in front of an audience or
Mm-hmm.
others, it makes it more interesting and important to talk about it, and then with the questions and the feedback, it makes it known that it's important to kind of get this out there. I mean, a lot of us have ideas in our heads, and just getting it out on paper is so important. Especially, you talked about the legacy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the reason why I write, because I find being a Jamaican living in New York and having American born children and nieces and nephews, they're not getting the full depth of what we got growing up in Jamaica. And
Right.
so the language is kind of dying, so I wanted to preserve some of it for them.
Mm-hmm. When you say the language is dying, exactly what do you mean by the language is dying? Expand
Well,
a little bit on that for us,
when we
please.
talk about the second generation Americans, or wherever else they might migrate to,
Yeah.
then you think about, we are not passing that down to our children. Like,
Mm,
I have two children, and one speaks patois, because that's what I write in right now,
right.
and she understands and she speaks. I don't know if she writes it, but she
Hmm.
came here in the fourth grade. So she was embedded, that was kind of embedded in her growing up. My other daughter was born here in the US to Jamaican parents, but we really don't speak it that much at home. so she doesn't understand it. So she's not feeling that Jamaican heritage because she's like, oh, I don't feel as Jamaican as you are. And they get kind of jealous. I don't know if anyone else experienced this, but my kids, if you say you are not Jamaican when they were younger, they would literally cry because she would be like crying and you go, what's the matter? And she goes, oh, I'm not Jamaican because she wants to be Jamaican. So
Hmm.
we were having a conversation recently about the younger generation, my daughter and kids that came after her, who we haven't really exposed them to the language and their or the cooking, the food. They eat it, but they don't know how to make it. Um,
Hmm.
so now they're getting interested. Now that they're getting older, they're getting interested in our story and trying to learn the language. And so I was just trying to preserve some of that, mostly for my generation, but then it inspired me to share it to the world because I see where others could learn from this. I've also, as a life coach, found a parallel between a lot of the proverbs and the sayings that we use in Jamaica that would be so relevant in my coaching business, especially if I'm coaching a Jamaican and you don't want to, use language, you want to use language that they
They
understand.
understand.
You can just
Hit the
throw it out.
nail on the head.
Yes, yes. And it's amazing how many, like the majority of them, have some parallel to life as it is now. And the
Mhm.
things that we are learning now, without social media back when we were growing up, we weren't exposed to a lot of these things. But now coaching and well-being has become a major part of society. Everyone's talking about their mental health and
Mhm.
their well-being. And you'll find that a lot of these sayings that we use and we to us it was like nothing. It's
Right.
it's just a way of talking and not really having a meaning behind it per se, but then now you can make the connection whether you're living in the US or in the UK or
Hmm. Hmm.
Africa or France or wherever, and as a Jamaican you can find that this it translates all over. And
Yeah.
plus the Jamaican language is just so beautiful.
Yes, it's dynamic. I like how you broke down and explained what is meant by the loss of the language. And language is as dynamic as people develop, move, grow. But the essence of what it means to have a Jamaican language, the essence of what it means, as a communications coach myself, we often say that language is not just the words on the paper, it is also cultural. It is the nonverbal. It is understood meanings without the explanation. When we, as the Jamaican people or Caribbean people, we do something like this with our mouth. We know exactly what that means. And if I turn sideways, it probably will have a great effect.
Mhm,
There is
mhm.
something that we do that really speaks a language all on its own, you know, and
Yeah.
we understand what that meaning is. For us, not living on the terra firma, the land of Jamaica itself, for those of us living outside of our homeland, Jamaica, the reality is that individually we are Jamaica. Individually we are Jamaica.
They say
Yeah.
Jamaica, being Jamaican is not just being a part of Jamaica. It's something that's inside of you that just lives. I mean, where I've traveled quite frequently and I've gone to Africa and Europe and wherever I go, and you tell them that you're Jamaican. They
Mhm.
have a Jamaican phrase, a Jamaican word, a particular one, um,
Yes, a
or
particular
Bob
special
Marley,
one.
yes, or Bob Marley or something, but it's just culturally related. Like everywhere you go, people understand because of the richness of our culture, our language, our food, our music. People
Mhm.
resonate with that wherever you go. I mean, how many other cultures have you seen that is so dynamic and so colorful?
Hardly ever. Hardly
Certainly not
ever.
English, right?
No, not English.
The
And what is
English
so
language is not
interesting?
as expressive as you would want it to be, but the Jamaican language can bring so much color and so much meaning. Plus, there's so many different ways to say things.
Yes.
right?
And what
Yeah,
I noticed too, what I absolutely noticed is that foreigners, they're making their whole social media posts using our Jamaican language and not doing and not saying
very
the
good
language
job.
or the words perfectly. They're not saying the words perfectly, but they're enjoying their attempts at doing the Jamaican language and they're unabashed about it. And Jamaicans look on and rate them, willing to give them a Jamaican passport. So there's something to be said about the effectiveness and the what you may call it, that feeling where, you know, you have to log on to the Jamaican cultural
Hmm.
experience
Hmm.
because that's where it is. It is rich, it is happening, and it is now. So I'm so glad that you decided to do your book, Wisdom from Mi Mother. Now, during our book festival, we got an insight as to why it was you wrote this and how you started to write this. But for our audience who never logged on to that book fair experience, let's start on how you started to put together this book, Wisdom from My Mother. How you
Well,
start?
at an early age, I was always collecting words, as I mentioned before. I am always jotting down. We didn't have computers and iPhones to take pictures of stuff, right? So you would jot it down in a notebook, back of an envelope, a piece of paper somewhere. And I was always writing down poems or something that I read in a book, quotes from books and stuff. And recently, well, maybe not quite so recently, it has to be like maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, before
Mhm.
way before COVID, that I started writing our Jamaican proverbs and quotes because you know us as Jamaican, no matter where you move, the Jamaican goes with you. And when you are, there's just no way to express yourself. So you're always falling back. So
Mm,
if I'm upset, or I'm just a little bit heated, then I would say something and I would use a phrase that doesn't resonate with either my children or whoever I'm speaking with because we revert
mhm,
to our natural tongue. And
mhm.
then these started coming back to me and I started writing them down. And over time, I've been collecting them. And so, a friend of mine asked me once, what you going to do with this? And that's when the idea of writing a book came to me because it's about our identity and sharing the wisdom with the world in order to drown out some of the noises. So you tend to want to just withdraw sometimes and do stuff, and
Yes,
that's how I
yeah.
actually started writing the book. I was in the hospital, I think, when I started writing the book.
Mhm,
Yeah, because I needed that break from the world and what was going on in the world and my mental healing.
mhm.
And I was there and I was like, why not? And then I started writing it then. Writing is just one of those tools that you use for mindfulness. And if you can share that and others can get wisdom from that, then, it's worth sharing.
By all means. By all means, absolutely. What we find happening is that we may even doubt ourselves sometimes as to what we're going to do with the thoughts and phrases and ideas that we
Mhm.
happen to pen, write for whatever the purpose, whatever the origin is, but to follow it through to a point where we're able to put together words in an order in such a way that brings brings it to the public. For I remember when I started to write poetry, I thought I wrote poetry just for myself and I didn't want to share it because it's such an inner thought. And I don't want, if anybody knew what I was thinking, as if I was writing trade secrets. No, I wasn't. But I was so self-conscious. I didn't want to share any of my writings. So now, when you got this chance to put down these words and feelings and thoughts into a collection that makes it read worthy for others to enjoy, to see, to learn, that's quite a process. How long did this process take?
Oh, it took me, I had most of the I had the majority of the quotes I had. I had a long list, over 100 quotes that I had collected. And
Mm,
I had started attaching meanings to them and parallel with coaching. And it was just taking
mhm.
that and putting it together. So it took me about, I want to say 10 months in all. I mean,
Okay.
things it's a lot easier now than back in the days when we had to use a typewriter or longhand to write stuff out because,
Mhm,
you're on the computer.
mhm,
And at the time, I had the time to spend hours writing because I'm alone a lot of the time and I'm always on my computer. So instead of scrolling, I would
mhm.
just write, especially late at night when the world is quiet and my mind is still active.
That's what I like about the business of writing. It really involves a quality of intimacy with self
Hmm.
that the noise of the current world definitely can't intrude on, you know? How did you find the right publisher, or how did you decide on how you were going to publish this work?
Well, everything, as I said, has become so much easier with the world of internet. And
Mhm,
I didn't know what reception this book was going to get. Like I said, I wasn't looking to be like a best-selling author or something like that. I just
mhm,
wanted to put something out there for my family. So I explored some options and I spoke to some writing coaches and publishers, and it's very costly to put this all together. And so with um, the wonderful world of AI, using Canva to create my cover, and I watched a lot of YouTubes. Oh my gosh, I watched so many YouTubes. And
mhm.
I self-published
YouTube,
on,
you mean you attended YouTube
yeah,
University?
YouTube University. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I would just play along. As I'm watching those, I would actually participate. And I actually put out another book that I'm not going to talk about right now. But that was just testing it and making sure that I could get it on Kindle. And I'm looking
Right,
now to put this out so it will be in a bigger audience in the next few months.
right.
But yeah, I self-published and there were a lot of trials and errors. I think the
Mhm,
writing was easier than the publishing.
mhm. Oh, yes, every time.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I want us to go and start getting a taste of what it is that you have in this collection of
Mhm.
wisdom from my mother. And I especially like the title because it feels like it gives it some sense of authority, as if you are not a mother yourself.
I am, and I use a lot of these things. And probably that's one of the reasons why I say wisdom from a mother, because we tend to grow up saying we don't want to be like our parents. But the older we get, the more we notice that we are so much like our parents.
Oh, yes.
My parenting style, I think, is a blend
Yeah.
of, me and the way my mother raised me. And like I said, I use a lot of these phrases because I'm not afraid to tell my daughter, go take your book before I have to draw something to your behind, right? When they don't want to read, or I'll be like, it's either the game or the book, you know?
Hmm, hmm.
And if they're crying, of course, the one, you want something for cry for. I used all of those, and those are things that my mother used with me. But then I also reflect on my mother. She was a woman of very little means, and she is what we Jamaican call Likaba Talawa. My mother was 5 feet tall, and all her children are taller than she was. And she had no problem jumping up and draping us up to get us right. And I think back on some of the things, that I would be upset about. And I'd be like, oh,
Hmm.
mom didn't let me do this, or she didn't let me do that. And then now looking back and reflecting, I'm appreciating my mother. So this is in honor of my mother, who I think did the best that she could
With what
with
she had in her
things
hand.
that she had.
Mhm.
And she was able to turn her hand and make fashion, because when there was no food, there was no clothes. She would pull out her sewing machine, get some scraps and patchwork. I don't know. I wore some patchwork skirts. And now I'm understanding why. And surprisingly, I'm seeing these things coming into style. And I'm
Right
like,
back
what
around.
the? I'm like,
Right
back
back
in the
around.
days when my mother used to take bits and pieces of cloth and piece them together to make me a school bag or to make me a skirt. I still have
Mhm.
a picture with one of the skirts she made, or to make a quilt for the bed. And now quilting is such a big
That's
thing.
big,
And
big thing.
yeah,
Yes.
and so I'm just reflecting now, I am closer in age to where my mother was before she passed away. And I
Yeah.
was just reflecting on the wisdom that she instilled in me that has made me the person that I am now. And so this was just a way to honor her. Yeah.
I'm loving that. I'm absolutely loving that. So I'm waiting for the reading. I
Oh,
thought you had a reading to
shall
share
we
with
go
us
to
right
the
now.
reading?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so one of the ones that I really like, and my mother used this a lot, and again, it's relevant to coaching, right? It says you can't plant corn and expect peas.
Hmm.
And that is to say, actions bring consequences. My mother always say, life give you back what you put in. Just like field, corn seed bring corn stalk, pea seed bring peas vine. You can't live careless and pick and expect wise results. I remember one youth in the lane who spent them school days skylarking, skipping classes, and running domino all afternoon. When exam time come, him ball because the paper looked like another language. My mother just shake her head and say, "Foolish living can't yield smart harvest." The lesson was clear. Effort and action shape the outcome. Same way seed decide the crop.
Mm, that's right.
And again, that has to do with the effort that you put in is what you get out, right? So if you have a goal and you don't plan and work that goal, then nothing is going to um, result from it, or you're
Yeah.
not going to get the benefit. So that's one of the quotes that I like.
Lately, I have been thinking more and more about our proverbs from Jamaica and those two that you just shared. I've not heard those two. Those two are two new ones for me.
Yeah,
What
my
would you
mother,
say? Mhm,
my
mhm,
mother had mentioned that to me
mhm.
once. And the stories behind these are just to express they're maybe not necessarily the situation that happened, but I remember I was taking a computer class. I was an adult and I was taking a computer class. Computers were just starting and I didn't have the stuff at home and I decided I wasn't going to go. And my mother said, you can't plant corn and expect peace.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
You have to find a way. That almost
Yeah.
reminds me of the very simple Jamaican saying, "Howdy and thank you, Brockner Square." And that simply means just have manners. Say good morning. Say hello. Greet each other. Be aware of your brother's keeper. Be neighborly.
Yes,
It,
that's so
yeah.
important, right? It's like them saying minding your P's and Q's.
Hmm.
If you see someone, and I do it to this day, I will walk into a classroom, an office building, the doctor's office, and I say good morning.
Yes.
I mean, it's up to
Yes.
you if you want to
What to
respond, but I'm going to
respond?
play my part. And
Yeah.
somebody holds a door for you, you know, say thank you. It
Thank
doesn't
you.
hurt. I mean,
No.
and you never know what other people are going
I'm going
through. And you coming in with a smile on your face and saying good morning can brighten someone's day. Just something
yes.
as simple as that, right? So of course, Odie, I'm thinking of Brookno Square.
Where? Yes. It is important that we're having this conversation regarding our language, regarding our proverbs, regarding our sayings that carry wisdom. Because it seems to me, and this is just my personal observation, that the more modern gadgets we get, the more apps we get, it is like the less wisdom is produced. Because once upon a time, knowledge went hand in hand with wisdom.
Hmm. Hmm.
But now the knowledge seems so either ill-gotten, so shallow, so trite. Maybe some of our teachers, like Karen tuning in right now, you find that it is so shallow. There's no depth that carries over from day to day. So we have to find a way to let wisdom come into fashion once more. We have to find a way to let good sense prevail once more. And if writing about these proverbs is one way of getting it going, then by all means, there is space in our life experiences for this to take place.
It's
For
it's
certain.
not just it's not just about our language. It's about everything. It's about history
Mm-hmm.
because as we become more and more, what I would think should be more advanced,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
find that in terms of literacy, we are further behind
Mm-hmm.
because we are not reading to retain, because everything is just so fast-paced that people are literally, you send kids to school and they're just learning to be tested and they're not retaining that, or they're hearing something, they're playing on a game, everything
Mm-hmm.
is what's that, gamified, so
Mm-hmm.
that they're not like retaining stuff. So it's not just about, this is not just this book or writing is not just about proverbs. It's about history. It's about language and culture and experiences and entertainment. You know, there's so much that goes into it, and everyone will have a different aspect of what it is that they want to keep alive. And
Yes.
so that's one of the reasons why reading, they will always say reading is fundamental because we're writing, but if others are not reading, they're not really going to
Mhm,
get the
mhm, mhm.
benefit of it.
And that is the importance of why we do shows like Why I Write, so that more people know what is available to them. If it would naturally come to you, you now know what is available to you to be able to, you know, share the word, share the quest, maintain the quiet revolution of no, so things can't just go so. Things can't just go so. You know, I want to welcome you if you're watching for the first time. Please go ahead and hit that like button. Please subscribe to our channel and watch the other videos that we have. We have two channels where you can watch our live videos that have been done, and we have also videos that we have done in the past. So definitely hit that subscribe button. We would so appreciate it. It helps us to keep growing and going. Now, what for those persons who have already read your book, what are some of the responses that you've gotten in your work and what you have shared with the world?
Well, I've heard that it brings back a lot of memories. Most of the
Mhm.
people who are reading the book are Jamaicans who have lived the experiences that I've lived, and it's kind of touched home.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's funny. There's a
Mm.
lot of humor,
Yeah.
and that was part of the reasons. And I've had a lot of people who buy the book just to share it with their children or
Yep.
other family members because they think that it was so valuable and
Mhm.
well thought out that they want to share that.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this because now I see the importance of when we were in primary school, why we were singing those folk songs, why we were
Hmm.
learning the Dinky Mini, why we were watching at our festival performances, the maypole dances, why we dressed up in our national costume. You know, when we were growing up, it wasn't so much about the black, green, and gold, but more so about the bandana and the cotton peasant top and so on. And of course, the boys wearing cummerbunds with a bandana fabric. But as we continue to go forward, it is very important that Jamaica as a culture It is retained in the best ways possible. And
Mhm.
we cannot emphasize this more, and especially as the world becomes more globalized, because there's a flat line of communication immediately from here to there. And we can lose some of our identity in
Mhm.
the midst
Mhm.
of it.
Well,
So it is
social
always
media,
happening.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say social media has made it a little bit more accessible to us now because a lot of the things that we did growing up in the 70s and 80s are
Mm,
not really being done now on it unless it's being done on an entertainment level. I remember in primary school, we would dress up and we would have like a day where we have like these impromptu concerts and performances. And I don't know if those take place as much as it did back then, but you're seeing a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of influencers who are now talking about the Jamaican culture and who are now, entertaining in the dialect, in the
right,
patois,
right.
because they're also trying to keep it alive. My big concern, I know like the Jamaican audience is big on this, on watching this, but I'm wondering with the younger generation, like my nieces and nephews who are like in their teens, how how receptive are they of this?
Hmm.
Because it's when they reach about 20 is when I find that they're suddenly interested, or when they go off to college and they find that there is a Caribbean Students Association, and then they're trying to get that cultural identity, and
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
realize that they're not as Jamaican as they thought they
Thought
were.
they were.
So
Right.
now they're coming to parents and they're like, oh, you didn't teach me this, or, they're becoming more open to learning.
I think what it is, Annette, in that case, it is the stylized fashion of what Jamaica is, the sexy version of what Jamaica is, the sexy version of music like coming from Sean Paul or a Spice, the
Mhm.
sexy version of when all the dance parties are held in Jamaica, the sexy version of, oh, this is independence and this is what happens over there, kind of thing. And as you talk about our heritage and about our Jamaican diasporic children, offspring, coming into the awareness that they are more than who they know themselves to be in a
Mhm.
different land from their parents. When I watch a show such as the PBS show Finding Your Roots, it was interesting to learn that one of the more celebrated actors on the Hollywood scene. His parents are Jamaican, and he's probably closer to 60 now than 50. And he's now discovering that his mother had lines of relations back in Goshen, like St. Mary.
Mhm.
And as I sat and I watched that episode, and I recognized that this gentleman was coming face to face with, so who I am intrinsically is Jamaican. I am Jamaican, even though I was born in England and I am now finding success in the United States. I am Jamaican. And they mentioned one name that when I took a look at him again, I realized, but he has the same features of folks with that name that I know of in Jamaica. So heritage, I think, is going to become a huge pursuit,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
huge pursuit in future for offspring of Jamaican folk and or persons of Jamaican heritage. And when we are talking about a book like Wisdom from My Mother, we're not just talking about an author putting his or her thoughts down and publishing this book and it's available here and there. What we are doing is capturing and documenting and making it set literally in stone a Jamaican culture that is like no other. just like William Shakespeare did. I don't know if
Hmm. Hmm.
William Shakespeare was busy thinking about heritage, but we're still talking about William Shakespeare 100, how many hundred to 400, 500 years later. So we expect the same to occur. I'm going to ask
Right,
you to
because now
go
we are able to read 500 years later, we're able to read his book and understand what went on in that culture,
right,
right?
right.
And so I hope like 100 years from now, someone will come across this book and say, wait, oh, this is the true meaning. Because when you go, you can Google any of these proverbs and these sayings, and they have a meaning, but it's not just putting a meaning behind it. Well, um, every day bucket go what? Well, one day the bottom must drop out,
Mhm.
and saying what that means, but tying it into something
Yeah.
like right now, one of the big topic that is being talked about is burnout,
Oh, yes.
not only among people who are in corporate, but college students, people who work other
Mhm.
jobs. Everyone is complaining about feeling burnout and what can I do about burnout? Because we're overworked. We have to work 8, 9, sometimes 12-hour shifts. And then we have to take care of kids. And there's so much else to do that surely one day, you keep doing the same thing every day. The bucket go to the well. One day the bottom going to drop out. One day, all of this work that you've been doing, this tiredness is going to come over you. And you're going to be hit with anxiety and depression and various feelings.
Yes. And
So
sometimes feelings you can't even put a name to.
exactly. And that's the reason why I wrote this in such a way that you're not just getting, well, this is the Jamaican version, this is the English version. It's this is the Jamaican version, this is the English version, but this is how it uh it
Translate.
it translates into your life.
Yes.
Right? And it's
You
things
know,
that we're hearing about every day.
right. When you talk about every day you carry basket of water, or bucket of water,
Bucket go water.
one day the bottom must drop out. It is tantamount to saying, I'll never forget, I heard this older woman say to me, she says, another same day, leaf drop a river bottom, it rotten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And it impacted me so powerfully. She said this to me about maybe almost 30 years ago. And I was dealing with a particular situation. And in that, she simply meant that it takes time
Takes time.
for things to show the results
Mm-hmm.
that you want. And they say it with such weight that it causes you to pause and collect the entire essence of that saying. And it's so much easier than sitting down and saying, well, it will take a little time for things to move from point A to B to C to down to Z. It is so effective that you gather the sense of it without any kind of explanation whatsoever. It is a literal learning instinct
Mm-hmm.
where you understand and you grasp the meaning of what is being said to you in that precise moment.
And
Yeah,
when it
but
hits, it
yeah,
hits
yeah.
hard. It's like,
When it hit it, my son said something to me several years ago, which made me feel very contemplative about the power of our language. Finishing high school here in the American system, he said to me one day, he says, Mom, you see, folks may think that they don't have a chance to get it right a second time, a third time, a fourth time. He says, Mom, in their language, they don't have anything that says wheel and come again.
yeah.
When he said that, it hit me like a bolt. Our language either limits us or frees us. And we grew up in an environment where in something as public as DJ singing, of singing at a talent show, a talent concert, wherever, And my man start, man, and him start on the rhythm. And the dub plate are going behind him. And
Mhm.
him not like he either is not catching the right tune or he wants to create a bigger impact. Him say, well, from he says that, everybody knows what's coming next. And of
Yeah.
course, the crowd is very excited that, yeah, wheel and come again. Come, make we wheel and come again. Or somebody coming to you with foolishness and it don't sound like it's sensible. You say, no, man, go with that and
Yeah,
wheel and
yeah, yeah. Come
go
again.
on,
Come again.
come on. What? Wheel and come again, man. That don't make no sense, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And language, definitely. So the Proverbs is more than even wisdom. It's even more far-reaching than wisdom, but it is a language that can free. It's literally a secret tongue spoken in the open public.
Mhm.
That's what it is tantamount to.
When
Yeah.
you said wheel and come again, it reminds me of how early our parents, our teachers start to kind of embed these things into us. And I remember being in kindergarten, and one of the nursery rhymes that we learned was, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes.
How relevant is that today?
Mm,
You
mm,
know, you fail, and I think that you don't fail until you stop trying. So
mhm.
keep trying. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's another one.
Yes. 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 One of the ones I always found very funny is, boy, if I lick you today, you find out a water walk got a pumpkin belly. I find that so funny because it's like
And we don't want to find out.
it sounds very deep. It sounds it sounds very Harry Potterish, you
Mhm.
know, because the whole concept sounds so physically, humanly impossible that it hits you that, boy, this is something serious. This is something serious. We
That
don't,
is something you don't want to find out.
number
So
one, we
it,
don't
it
know
swings you up.
if water walks or not.
Hmm.
And when I think of a pumpkin belly, all I can see is the hollow and the seeds and the vines on the inside.
Hmm.
No water. So what are we doing here? What are we talking about here? But we cannot be discussing Jamaican proverbs without having the honor of making note that this is a very powerful part of our African heritage.
Yes.
Because in the African language, they also have sayings that are very potent when said. And when I do have the chance to follow up with one and two African comedians, especially, and they talk about the things that are said, and a lot of cultures in our world, Asian cultures, Chinese cultures, they come with such potent sayings that move the human consciousness from one point to the next. Yes?
Yes. And I pay tribute to that in the book, in the introduction also, where
Mm,
you can't talk about um, Jamaican and Jamaican language without going back to the generations before us. You know, the Arawak Indians, the Tainos, the Africans, the slaves, and all the people, because it's a mixture of all of that that brings this blend and it's this beauty and this expressiveness to the
I'm so glad
language.
you have that. And I'm so glad you said that because it's not to be lost on anybody who reads
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
hears and connects with this work. I'm so happy you said that because we're doing literally everything. When we touch a book like Wisdom from My Mother, we're looking at heritage, history, we're looking at culture. We are looking
Entertainment.
entertain. We're looking at vibes for life. If
Hmm.
you want something
Hmm.
better, we are looking at vibes for life, and we want to follow through on that powerfully, so that the message is not lost. The message is not lost as we continue to involve ourselves in our culture And quite frankly, I love the fact that I'm Jamaican because it means that literally any situation I find myself in front of, there's a Jamaican saying word or especially attitude that's gonna help me solve it. Believe you, if I wake up tomorrow morning and discover I was not Jamaican, no, so
I don't know how I would deal with that.
no.
Because traveling as much as I have and the places that I've been to, and it's almost reverence when you tell somebody that you're Jamaican.
Jamaican.
You're
It is
in a place like Bali or something, and they go, "Oh, where are you from?" And you say Jamaican, and it's like they want to just step back and give you room.
right.
Um,
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
I don't see other cultures, and I never travel. I mean, I've lived in the US for almost 40 years and try not to lose my identity. And I try to let the kids know that,
Mhm.
this is our roots and you can assimilate, you can learn
Mhm.
to play the game here, but never forget. My mother always said, "Never forget where you come from.
Mhm. That's
Don't
very
forget your
critical.
roots." And that's very important.
That's very critical. What is the one takeaway for you having penned and published this book?
That anything is possible if you
Mm,
believe in yourself, you trust yourself, and more than all, trust the process. I mean, all of us,
that's
at
huge.
some point, we have a dream, we have a goal that we want to achieve. And it's not thinking about how it's going to benefit other people, but it's the release that it gives you that you have this goal and
Mm.
you achieve this goal. I mean, seeing this book in print, even if it was just one copy sold, would have
I
been
want
a
you to
very
hold it up to your left-hand side there so we
oh
can
this
see it.
this, this is not a good copy to hold up. Yeah.
That's okay.
But
That's okay. But we
yes,
see it.
yes, there we
Jamaican
go.
proverbs and life lessons. I got it.
Yes.
I
And
understand.
this book, the cover is done by me. And every picture, I try to put like a little outline that relates to that chapter. And the interesting thing about the way the book is done is something that I think resonates also. And it's set by theme. So it's not just a random list of alphabetized proverbs. There are
Mhm.
themes, and a proverb might fall in more than one theme. I try not to repeat, but it does happen. And it's about gratitude and grounding, grace
Mhm.
before greatness, wisdom in Proverbs, iron sharpens iron, character and connection, faith, effort, and consequences, the character, connection, and clarity,
Mhm.
prudence and patience, and community and survival. That's all this is about.
Oh, that's a whole lot. Where can we get a copy?
It can be purchased on Amazon and it's in paperback and Kindle.
Beautiful. Guys, you got to get Wisdom from a Mother. You are a Jamaican, you need to get it. You know of a Jamaican who needs to get it. You need to get a few for your guests. It never runs out of style or Jamaicanness. You know that if you have enjoyed this conversation, share this conversation out. We can't
And
get the word out. Yes,
yeah, and share how you feel about the book. I'd love to
yes,
hear your comments. So please feel free to leave a feedback or review on the Amazon page so I can know how the book resonates with you.
correct. So please look up Anette White, Wisdom from a Mother, Jamaican book, now out by a Jamaican author featuring Jamaican cultural proverbs in context. And it is lessons for life. Hang on to that, grab it quickly. And while you're doing that, look for my own Medea Travel Jamaican Journal, which contains Jamaican proverbs as well, plus Jamaican recipes, plus some other interesting tidbits about Jamaica, just like Jamaica 101. So look for us authors, support us, and give us your feedback. Share far and wide. We're going to drop the link in the description so you can definitely click and find that book and grab yourself a copy. And it has been my tremendous pleasure chatting with you tonight. You continue to keep warm there in New York, as I will here. You take great care of yourself. Congratulations once more. And we look forward
Thank
to chatting
you.
soon again.
Thank you so much, Tatlin. Thanks for the opportunity.
My
Talk to you
pleasure.
soon.
Yes, yes,
The
indeed.
pleasure was all mine.
Okay, one love. Or
One
remember
love.
why I write. Please remember to subscribe and share out this video. Invite your friends to subscribe. Let's get on the ball with that. And we see you soon. Thank you so much for watching another one of our fantastic episodes of Why I Write. Take care. Enjoy yourselves until we get together again next time.